The year is 2027. For most, it's just another date on the calendar. But in the war rooms of Washington, the high offices of Beijing, and the halls of Malacanang Palace, 2027 represents a Davidson window, the year intelligence experts suggest China may be fully prepared to move on Taiwan. Just 120 nautical miles from Taiwan's southern tip lies the Philippines, an archipelago that has suddenly found itself at the center of the world's most dangerous geopolitical chessboard. We often talk about the South China Sea as the primary point of tension, but the focus is shifting. Today, the West Philippine Sea and the Taiwan Strait are becoming two sides of the same coin. The question we have to face is no longer a theoretical what if. The real question is, if the fuse is lit in 2027, is the Philippines actually ready for the fallout? Stick with me, because we're going to dive into the classified contingency plans, the sudden military buildup in the north, and the terrifying humanitarian reality that could see hundreds of thousands of Filipinos caught in the crossfire. If you want to stay ahead of these rapidly developing geopolitical shifts, make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. We are tracking the 2027 countdown in real time. To understand where we are going, we have to look at how much has changed under the administration of Ferdinand Marcos Jr. For years, the previous administration pursued a policy of equidistance, or even a slight lean toward Beijing. But since 2022, the pendulum hasn't just swung back. It has locked into a strategic embrace with the United States. Under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA, the Philippines has granted U.S. forces access to 9 strategic sites. 4 of these are in the north, looking directly at Taiwan. The site at Lalo, Cagayan, is closer to Taipei than it is to Manila. This isn't just about joint training anymore. By allowing these sites, the Philippines has effectively placed itself on the front line of the first island chain. Just recently, in February 2026, the U.S. and Philippines held their 12th bilateral strategic dialogue. They didn't mince words, reaffirming that collective defense is critical to deterring aggression. They aren't just talking about reefs in the ocean anymore. They are talking about the territorial integrity of the entire region. But here is the first hook. While these alliances provide a security umbrella, they also make the Philippines a co-belligerent in the eyes of Beijing. If the U.S. uses Philippine bases to launch missions into Taiwan, those bases, and the Filipino communities around them, become legitimate military targets. This brings us to the state of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or the AFP. As we speak in 2026, the military is in a race against time. The Horizon Modernization Program is moving into its most critical phase. We are seeing the delivery of brand-new Miguel Malvar-class guided missile frigates, the acquisition of multi-role fighters, and the deployment of advanced surveillance systems. But the reality is sobering. The AFP's modernization budget for 2026 was boosted to roughly 40 billion pesos, with billions more in unprogrammed funds. It sounds like a lot, but compared to the trillion-dollar capabilities of the superpowers, the Philippines is still playing catch-up. The Philippine Air Force is only now beginning to receive the Global Eye, early warning systems, and more S-70 Black Hawk helicopters. The military is transitioning from internal security, fighting insurgencies, to archipelagic defense. We're about to get into the raw numbers of the humanitarian crisis, the part of this war that hits home for millions of families. Stay until the end of the video to find out exactly what the state of the nation looks like if 2027 becomes a year of fire. However, a military in transition is a military at its most vulnerable. If the Flashpoint happens in 2027, the Philippines will likely have the hardware, but will it have the integrated experience to use it effectively in a high-intensity conflict? The gap between having the tools and winning the war is where the danger lies. Now, consider the second hook, the humanitarian crisis that no one wants to talk about. There are currently over 200,000 overseas Filipino workers in Taiwan. In the event of a blockade or a full-scale invasion, Taiwan becomes a fortress. How do you evacuate 200,000 people from an island under siege? The Department of Foreign Affairs and the Manila Economic and Cultural Office say they have contingency plans. They've held drills, and they've mapped out evacuation routes. But let's be real. Moving a population the size of a small city across a contested sea during a naval war is a logistical nightmare that has never been successfully executed in modern history. The pressure isn't just external, it's internal. In 2026, the Philippines is also serving as the ASEAN chair. This puts President Marcos Jr. in a unique, yet exhausting, position. He has to lead a regional bloc where many members are terrified of offending China, while simultaneously preparing his own country for a war that could be triggered by those very same tensions. The economic stakes are just as high. Taiwan is the world's semiconductor capital. A conflict there would instantly freeze the global electronics industry. For the Philippines, where the manufacturing and tech sectors are growing, this would be a death blow to the economy. We are talking about hyperinflation, energy shortages, and a complete halt to the trade routes that pass through the Luzon Strait. If you're finding this breakdown helpful, drop a comment below. Do you think the Philippines is doing enough to protect our WFWs? Your engagement helps us bring these critical issues to more people. The government has been trying to insulate the country through the Luzon Economic Corridor, an investment plan backed by the US and Japan to boost infrastructure and supply chains. But infrastructure takes years. A missile strike takes seconds. As we look toward 2027, the new cross-strait security complex is no longer a concept found only in academic papers. It is the daily reality for the Philippine Coast Guard facing water cannons in the West Philippine Sea and for the residents of Baton's who see warships on their horizon. So, is the Philippines ready? The answer is a complicated, not yet, but we're trying. The country has shifted from a passive observer to a pivotal player. It has modernized its alliances and started the long process of fixing its military. But the clock is relentless. Here is the final thought to leave you with. In 2027, the Philippines might not have a choice in whether it is involved. Geography has already made that choice for us. The real test will be whether the preparation we are doing today is enough to ensure that the Philippines doesn't just survive the Flashpoint, but remains a sovereign, independent nation on the other side of it. The countdown is on. The eyes of the world are on the Taiwan Strait, but the heart of the response might just be found in the 7,000 islands of the Philippines.